in 7 years time, and I went and double checked this because I wanted to get some form of like real timestamp, and I guess it's technically 7 years or so since God Serena was introduced that we would actually see his magic in its full knowledge. We haven't seen every single move, we haven't seen every single technique, and we haven't seen him eat every single element. But we now know what all 8 of his elements are, what all 8 attributes God Serena has in Dragon Lacrima implanted into his body. We finally have it. Why is that something that is like so big for me? I'll just give a quick Rax a little bit. I like one of the quickest pet peeves for me is when they give some specific number. This guy has 6 of this thing, and then you show like 4, and it's just like, why didn't you just show the other 2? It was always one of those things where it's like we could have easily seen the other elements for God Serena, but we never did. Or Kite from Hunter x Hunter, and I know there's probably a couple other characters out there you can think of where it's like, yeah, they have this number of abilities, and it's not like, oh, he's got 1,000 attacks. It's like, yeah, he's got 5 different spells. Or oh my god, this is another one. This is a fairy tale. What is it? Easel's abilities were named after the was it 5 sacred or treasured swords of Japan, but I think he only uses 3 of them in the manga, 4 in the anime, and it's like, why didn't you just finish it off? You even have the names. It's not even like you gotta make them. I always just think that stuff is both funny yet agitating, because it always is one of those easy solutions, but it gets on my nerves just because I hate when they do that. But we actually got it for God Serena, which was a big thing. Like, it was one of the biggest things for me, legit, with this guy's return. I would love to get some form of backstory. I don't need a really long backstory, unless Mishima plans to keep him around a bit. Like, say after the fight we have him not necessarily getting like another big focused fight, but maybe just him participating in ongoing events. Like, maybe whenever we get to whatever's like going on more with Gold Owl, he'll become a central character for the guild. I think that would be pretty cool. We don't really know anybody from Gold Owl, and then a character we already have somewhat knowledge on, I think would make it easy for us. Because Gold Owl is a really weird existence. We've talked about it a bit. Like, obviously, this introduction of this alchemist guild. It's not the introduction of an alchemist guild, especially like ones with, clear high power level characters. The Signario sisters seem to be above God Serena, as well as their guild master, and the guild master Gold Owl is very suspicious. Very, very potential Viernes either connections or Viernes in disguise, like plotline right there. But it's not the introduction of the Alchemist Guild. It's more of doing it in the middle of this arc. If it was in between any of the other arcs, or like at the beginning of an arc, but it's like right in the middle of everything that was going on with Dogramag, that made it weird. So I feel like the Viernes connection is very possible. I'm not going to say it's absolute, but I think... Oh, my dog's trying to call him. Listen, I know you're excited about God Serena as well, but you got to calm down. He's not going to be around for a long time. My dog's just excited. I let him be in here while I'm recording. He just wants to jump on me. He's not barking, though. He's doing good. But it's the fact that they were dropped like right in the middle of events that, again, make them strange. And I don't know exactly if this will happen, but I really like the idea of, if after, I think it's very clear now with Natsu and Suzaku that Diablos and Ferretza will make amends. They'll get a situation where they can talk it over and see. Obviously, the hostility between their guilds was more of a misunderstanding than anything, and they don't actually have to be enemies. Whereas at that point, I think it would make sense for, the Dragon Slayers to go train with Diablos and do stuff with them. Whereas Gray, I think it would make a lot of sense for him to go to Gold Owl, because alchemy is very similar to Maker Magic. And it's actually funny, is in the early fan translations, they referred to Maker Magic as a type of alchemy magic, which makes me wonder, like, in the translations, does it fit up more, like, in the Japanese style? I'm not too sure on that one. But anyway, yeah, that's been what, a couple minutes of chatter just in the chapter in general. Obviously, like, this is one that had me a lot. This had a lot of general just interest content for me. Like, when we got it was a couple chapters ago, it was just like God Serena, well, that was last chapter. But like God Serena set up, or like Gray talking to Celine, like stuff like that, like those chapters were neat, but they were ones obviously to get you hyped up for what's to come. And I think this is one of those ones where it's very intriguing. Gajeel obviously getting a fight, Gold Owl becomes more interesting. whatever Gajeel's personal stuff that's up and coming. Like there's a lot of fun stuff right now that's going on, and I'm obviously stoked for that. Like I've been wanting a Gajeel fight for a long time. I've been asking to see him do something for a hot minute. Like because it's not like he's not in the direct main 100 Years Quest cast. So like when people have like an upset with Gray, it's like, well, Gray is gonna he's gonna be in the 100 Years Quest the whole time. So it's like you gotta think like, is this gonna be an arc where Mishima wants to do something with Gray, or is he saving it for the next arc, or what exactly is he doing? Laxus showed up. Laxus got one of the best fights in 100 Years Quest. I'm not too mad about that. Mira Jane's still in a weird spot. Maybe Mishima's gonna do something with her. But Gajeel having the Dragon Slayer aspect, being essentially Natsu's rival. Like him and Gray are kind of like weird, not necessarily rivals, but kind of rivals to him. So Gajeel really, I think, needs it for his character importance, but plus he hasn't really had anything that big in a long time. And really, when you think about what he's primarily accomplished in the last like 2 major arcs where he was doing something and had big wins for him, they were his fight with Torafusa and his fight with Bloodman, both ones that he needed to have an outside power source in order to advance to the point of winning, which isn't bad. It's something that Slayers have as a potential in their moveset. But it's obviously a completely different feeling when a character gets some form of boost that isn't like where it's different, say like Natsu getting Flame of Rebuke or eating Aetherion versus Natsu just limit breaking into Dragon Force against Martyr. It's a completely different vibe because one is like this character can achieve this level of strength and level of accomplishment if they get into a scenario where they can consume X material in order to boost up their power into a higher form. Because whenever they go into like a Dragon Force, it's something that they can do if conditions are met. It's within the possibilities for their abilities, but it's not something that they can do by themselves. And it's just that feeling of like by themselves versus like aid that can really set a different tone for like a big character accomplishment. So when it comes to what Gajeel's gonna do, obviously I'm hyped. Like he doesn't have to have anything otherworldly. We could get an equivalent to Fire Dragon King mode. We could get a level of Dragon Force. We could get something completely different, like way out of like a different field. Like if he eats some of Doggermag's material, like eats the core and then gains some like advanced, metal dragon form. I'm all for it. Whatever Gajeel gets, well, I don't really want him to eat the Lacrima because I don't want it to be an outside source. I want Gajeel to have something for him, and I'll talk about like what I would primarily like for Gajeel, like when I'm actually talking about the content of the chapter, because it's been a couple minutes of me just chatting, just going over stuff in general. Which I mean, I guess like generally that's one of the indicators that I very much enjoyed this chapter. Just a lot to talk about. So in this chapter, first off, I'm not gonna lie, God Serena's looking good. God Serena's actually looking pretty good. He's not looking like a bum. I get why people make fun of God Serena. It's like with Georg, they lots of talk, but they end up getting smashed down like immediately. But again, they were in those scenarios where it's like you get killed by those characters. Yeah, it sucks, but it's like that like you put yourself in that situation, but yeah, that was gonna happen. I think there was no well, if you did this different, you might have won. If you just used this move or got in this position, no. Those characters like Acnologia and Celine, they were not having your existences, and they got rid of you. Like I can't ever be mad at a character for getting crushed by somebody that like you see him and it's like, oh yeah, that character would beat the shit out of that character. That's just how it is. Whereas if say, he like God Serena was up against I don't know, I guess you could really just say Gajeel back in Alvarez, or any character that you would see at that time, be like, yeah, he should be able to really press this character, press this protagonist, and like, give a good style for a fight. He's doing that now, though. I think it would have been more interesting to see someone like if we were gonna really see God Serena as like a big hype character, then I think once we saw him in Alvarez would have been a better place, because now the characters are stronger. They're well, I guess it's harder to say with Gajeel because clearly Gajeel's still threatened by him, but back when he was more of a bigger character, like he's still strong, but obviously like the the rank of Spriggan 12 or like being in Spriggan tier isn't the same anymore, but that just happens when you broaden the horizon of characters at a certain level. I think now with Gajeel, though, it's going to be really nice. And one of the abilities that we had put in there, and I think it's going to be a really nice touch for advancing Gajeel, and I think it works for Gajeel, but it wouldn't really work that well for Natsu, is him having a diamond dragon slaying element, which is really cool. Because the fan translation said gold, and obviously that got me hyped up because the potential Vierness connections. But it ended up being diamonds, which is still good because diamond, if Gajeel, like I will assume, Gajeel after the end of this fight will have proven that his dragon iron is stronger than dragon diamond, which is very impressive because we know like the dragon attributes of whatever something is are pretty much automatically stronger than whatever they are in nature. We even have stuff in this in the verse, if you want to question it. We have Gajeel obviously being able to go through steel and iron like nothing, but his dragon metal is obviously way more durable, whereas like Stellanium, way harder and way more dense than diamond. Natsu could crush it with his bare hands, not even using magic in Dragon Cry. And Gajeel could swap attacks with this Natsu, the base Natsu, and Lightning Flame Dragon mode Natsu just fine, but this Dragon Diamond is obviously more dense and harder in comparison to him. So, bam, right there. Diamond Dragon, or I guess Dragon Diamond, whatever, is way harder than Natural Diamond. Just straight up there within canon facts. God Serena, though, like he's being goofy in general, which I think a lot of people expected. It's always funny because when he was introduced, like not when he was directly introduced, because like when he was first introduced, he seemed super serious. Once we got to see him a little bit at that table with the other Spriggan, like my first thought was like, he reminds me of Ichiya. If you think about Ichiya on like a bar of seriousness to goofiness, Ichiya's character is like past the middle point, leaning more towards goofy. God Serena just feels like Mishima like took the bar and put it a little bit more, like if you just saw the halfway point, God Serena's just like a couple smidgens from the halfway point, but he's a little bit more serious than he is goofy. And it's just like, what if I took Ichiya and made him into like a serious-esque character? Just a little bit. I don't know, he just gives me that vibe. It's that kind of like overly kind of like performative way he like speaks and just moves, and how he's goofy but like serious at the same time reminds me a lot about Ichiya, which I really liked. Because like God Serena is like a weird character because I've never loved him. He's never been like in my top characters, but I've never really had a reason to dislike him. It was just that like right when he started to get invested into him, he gets clapped. Where it's like, no, okay, cool. Like he's doing some good stuff in this chapter. We get some general just good stuff from Gajeel, where Gajeel is just like, he's able to connect dots. He's like, oh yeah, he heard from Ward. We know he was in conversation with Ward for a decent amount before Alvarez, because Ward's the one that made a joke about Gajeel joining the council, and he took it seriously and went and joined up with them. So Gajeel having some form of relationship with Ward, I think makes sense. I would really like to see like a flashback or have this explored, or maybe like not even a flashback, like at some point later, like if they ran into Ward, or Ward, for whatever reason, he came into contact with Ward, or a flashback. I'm not mad at a flashback that we just see like him talking to him. I just want to see like a nice like, oh yeah, they have a good relationship, because it's just one of those things where it's like, oh cool, it's nice to see like a unique kind of like setup between two characters, form, during certain periods of time. If Gajeel's got some form of nice, maybe not mentor relationship, but somebody he can go to advice, or somebody that he knows that might be able to answer him if he's got some questions with Ward, I think is pretty cool. But he's saying like, okay, you used to be the top top wizard saint. You betrayed Ishgar and went over to Alvarez, and you joined Zareth and got killed by Aknogi. I think that's good. Like it's weird for me when characters don't share certain information, and I didn't need like the entire cast doesn't need to like have had tests on the events of Alvarez, but I feel like certain things, like things with the Spriggan 12, things with like the big people, I feel like should be something that you take note of, because it'd be a conversation thing. It'd be something to kind of just be like, oh shit, yeah, this happened. But he's just saying like, yeah, that guy's, he's like, oh yeah, Ward said I was dead. He's still cracking jokes because I'm not dead. And here's the thing, because I know some people have been talking about it. Obviously, this is a conversation that is really weird about God Serena. So he's saying, well, it was a pretty close call. I still dropped my guard and almost died for it. And luckily, a fellow local fellow from an alchemist guild, Goldal, happened to come by and save me, and I went to the northern continent. So here's the thing about God Serena's revival, because I know this has been a contention point, and I want people to at least hear out what I have to say. I'm not too bothered by God Serena being alive. First off, him being alive does not bother me. He's not a big character in terms of the large scale lore. Him dying didn't do something really big for a character. It's not like his death pushed somebody that was present for it like heavily with character development and progression to where bringing him back feels weird. His character just like he was introduced, we didn't really get to find too much about him, and then he died. So him coming back, I'm not too mad about. Like, I don't really care. I'm not gonna be like, oh man, he's dead, he's alive again. That's stupid. It's just okay. Well, how is he alive? The two things I need from this, because I'm not gonna like be like, this is my stance on him being alive until we get two things. One, I want to know who did it. Was it the Signario sisters or the Guildmaster? Because I think if they have a connection to Viernes, or they're just some crazy broken alchemist, them being able to heal him makes sense. It's just going to depend, because I think if you, because obviously one of the things is like the Historia, he was dead. If you were at a point, I think where he was, where you have like a chunk of your body ripped out and you have to be like healed by people replacing parts of your body, I would imagine you would be in like a state but pretty much between life and death. You'd be in that like barely hanging on there kind of status. If you think of kind of like when Natsu was, when he was in that short coma and he was kind of in this almost limbo-like state. Or like Beta Heaven, where it's just something where it's like you are not necessarily alive, but you are not necessarily dead. Because kind of think about that. Like, think about how like people have been legally and technically dead, but have been brought back to life and saved in real life. Like, you've been dead for whatever, an hour or whatever, 10 minutes, something. It's something that can make sense. It just needs to be explained. And I think if the Guildmaster of Goldal is connected to or is Viernes, I think him having a broken enough level of alchemy to pretty much heal somebody from the point of being a goner makes sense. I think that'd be perfectly fine. We would just need a reason of why he was up there, why they ran into him. It could be, if it's Viernes, like, I was watching Actology, I was spying on him, I saw this was a good opportunity to add somebody to the guild, or for whatever reason, a Dragon Slayer, add him in. Or if it was like, they had some other plot reason to be up there. They had something, maybe it had to do with Rebellious, maybe it has something to do with one of the other super weapons that's hidden. Who knows? It just has to be something that I can say like, okay, yeah, it's not just like, oh yeah, we were there and like it was never explained. As long as it's not something like, oh yeah, we were just up there, then I'm not a fan of that. But if it was like, say, oh yeah, Viernes has been like watching stuff all over. He saw Acnologia do that. He saw a chance to save God Serena and get an ally. Bam, right there, fixed. It's the question as to who and why they were there, not necessarily of how they did it, because obviously broken alchemy, the transmuting parts of his body, and level of alchemy like that really just depends on it. Like, it's because there are alchemists in fiction that can do stuff like that. So it's not like Mishima's inventing new things about alchemy. It just depends on like how powerful the character is going to be. And I think if we have something like, say, because the Viernes Gold Owl is probably one of my favorite potential plot points right now. But like the idea of a 400-year-old dragon alchemist having this level of grasp on alchemy beyond any human, to like a level again of being able to fix bodies that are on near the point of death, I think that would make perfect sense. Because those are the characters that you can have be so ridiculous. And obviously Dragon God, I mean, it shouldn't need that much explanation as to why it'd be broken and like this far into 100 Years Quest. So for God Serena, that's more of my stance as of right now. I know that's been a point of contention with a lot of the fan base. It's the questions for me, like I said, who did it? What reason were they within the area? Like what reason did they have their sights on God Serena? Was it coincidence? Were they there for a reason? Were they watching him Arachnologia? I just need that and the person. It's all I require. Because like I said, it's God Serena not coming back. It's not a big deal. It's not like trying to resurrect Simon or Mavis or Igneel or Jude or anybody that would be like, you have to have a good reason to bring this character back. You cannot bring a character that has some form of deeper connections to somebody important and not have any form of reason to bring him back. It'd be like if you up back, Rob, some character that most people probably would have forgotten about, but Urza should have, regardless of the fan opinion on Rob, Urza would have a drastic response to Rob's revival. Same thing with someone like Makarov or anybody that would know him. Whereas bringing back Wall, nobody really would have that much of a reaction to him. The only character I think that would really have anything, I don't even want to say like really like lively about like a response to it, would probably be Gildarts getting it, like being excited to have a chance to actually fight him the way he wanted to fight him, because like nobody else really has that much of a connection to God Serena. Like, he doesn't have any, like, close friend allies that were mad that he was betraying. Because when you think about the Wizard Saints, it just seemed like, oh, yeah, they worked with him, they were disappointed. It's not like they were buddies. Oh, my dog's upset. He came in here, now he wants to leave. You just wait until I'm done with my video. After that point, like, so, the rest of the chapter is mostly, like, stuff with the fight. Like, the way that God Serena does fight, I think, is pretty smart. But he's like explaining like, Alchemist Guild. Gajeel probably hasn't ran into many alchemists, I would imagine. Like, we haven't seen many alchemists in the series. Wall was the best example. He's still explaining. He's don't get him wrong. He's a wizard, and he's like, I'm a dragon slayer because I am too. What alchemy is God Serena going to use? Because that's the thing I'm a little confused about. He didn't do anything with alchemy, at least from what I could tell this chapter. So maybe that's his trump card. He's going to pull out next chapter or something. He's I used to be the #1 wizard in Ishgard, the hybrid theory, 8 dragon god, God Serena, or 8 dragon, God Serena, not 8 dragon god. But Gajeel is just being, I heard you have 8 dragon lacrimas. There's just one of those things where it's like, he's just like, yeah, I'm not too interested. I know a little bit about you, but I'm not that hyped. And he's like even saying like, I'm stronger than Gildarts. I don't believe that, God Serena. I don't believe that at all. I do not believe that you are any. I don't believe that you are within Gildart's range. Like if God Serena said, "Oh, I bet I can give him a better fight now, or I might be able to take him," I'd say, "Okay, sure, maybe." I'm not gonna put you down off of speculation, but like if he's just saying like I'm still stronger, well, then I'm just like, no, there's no way you're stronger than Gildart's, my guy. Like, I believe that you got stronger. Because, like, even in the idea of, like, him, like, not training, if he learned alchemy, I would imagine he's a bit stronger by default of just adding something new to his skills and stuff. But there's no shot he's stronger than Gildart's. No shot. But, yeah, he's like, okay, we're going to get past introductions. And Gajeel's just doing something, I got to destroy that stone. I got a mission. I'm not going to let you take it. He's like, God Serena just doing the normal like thing you'd expect. We already know their mission is to retrieve them. He's like, nope, I'm not letting you take them. He gives a little bit of lore. He's like saying, oh, just by the way, the guild master of Gold Owl is way stronger than me. Same thing with the Signario sisters. I don't even hold a candle to them. And we do get something that I think a lot of people have forgot about. And it's funny that Ward was mentioned in this chapter because Ward's the character that initially brought this up. And he said that off the continent there are way more powerful people than him. And obviously, like, he's not Spriggan level, but when he's saying, like, he's small when you actually, like, reach out into the world and you see where characters eventually reach. And he's like, then you have God Serena saying, like, it makes you realize how low level Ishgard actually is. Which, I mean, that's believable because most of Ishgard, when you really think about it, was carried by the Fairy Tale Guild. Most of the strongest people on Ishgard is in Fairy Tale. Especially those guys going to say, like, it was like, what? Who were the really strong people, like, even in Alvarez that weren't in the guild? It was, like, Jalal, but Jalal's probably going to join the guilds. So it's like, you can, obviously, like, he wasn't in the guild at the time, but it's like, yeah, that's true. They're pretty much the central point for all the strongest characters. With Elantir, I mean, they have that. I guess they're a different dimension. I don't need to talk about Elantir. And Guillotine, I mean, they have Diablos members, and then now we have Gold Owl. I think it makes complete sense for there to be, like, a handful of really OP characters on every continent. You have that many people, it would make it. It'd be weird if we went somewhere completely new and there weren't a couple of those characters, a couple of those either old characters who are just, really old and experienced, have broken abilities through their years, maybe have like prolonged life for whatever reason. They're special characters in the history. And then you have characters who are just really strong. They're prodigies. They have lost magic or some broken ability. I think that makes complete sense. It's like when you think about the gauge of the characters, as long as you don't make them some level that is conflicting to parts of the plot, like you don't have just some random guy who's as powerful as Zareth. Oh yeah, everybody's as powerful as Zareth now. We don't need that. Or it's like if you brought out some like, oh, this character's centuries old, they have their own reason of being, this really old, powerful, broken character. And you'd have to build up way more to kind of get him to that level if you wanted to have him be anywhere near someone again like Zareth or anybody like vital like that. Whereas someone like any of the Spriggan, you just this is a powerful character. Like it's not as unbelievable, especially like when we got introduced to Spriggan, there were 12 people on one continent. A couple of them were outliers, obviously the top 3, but for the most part, like it's believable that the characters would end up having like other people at this level on other continents, especially with different power systems and different kinds of abilities and whatnot that they're gonna have pretty much built into it. The Signaria sister designs look cool. The Guildmaster design looks a little strange. I feel like he's gonna have a really square head or something. I don't know if it's just a silhouette, but I'm hoping he looks really cool. But we'll see. If he is Viernez, and this is just his human form, I don't really mind, because obviously the dragon form is the bigger hype. Maybe he'll have something more kind of subdued or cool, or maybe it'll be a chick. I don't really know. The Signaria sisters obviously are females. I mean, not only are they called the sisters, you can see in their silhouettes, you can see the outlines of their boobs. So, I mean, I'm going to assume they're female. And then the Guildmaster was left unknown, so it could be male, could be female, who knows. I'm going to guess male, at least as of right now, just because if it is Viernez, as far as we know, I think Viernez is a dude. Gajeel, though, goes in for some attacks. What Gajeel, I think, really needs, for one, I think he needs just a couple adjustments to his base moveset. Like, one of the things I always really wish that he would do in the manga is how he did in the anime, where his Iron Dragon sword is like a chainsaw. I always thought that should have been one of the things implemented into the manga, because I think it'd be something that would just give Gajeel like a general boost in usage, rather than just the sword, but it's obviously, a spinning blade that is, the vibrations of the blade can, add extra cutting power to it. But so here's the thing. God Serena's fighting style in this chapter, I think, is pretty smart. I wonder if he was going to try this against Acnologia, but, obviously it wouldn't work. But it's a smart moveset to use against most people. Like, Gajeel goes in, Iron Dragon Sword. It seems God Serena just waits, uses a Diamond Dragon Stronghold Breaker, cool name for an attack, and pretty much just goes for this right hand, big, heavy punch right in his face. And the fan translations initially, I guess the text spoilers really, the text spoilers said Gold Dragon. I was really hyped because, okay, yeah, potential their connection to Viernez. But Diamond Dragon is still really hyped, because this should mean that Gajeel's Iron is going to be stronger than Dragon Diamond by the end of this. And there's even a part where God Serena's even saying, Iron Dragon, doesn't really matter. I got a Diamond Dragon. Obviously, Diamond is generally stronger than Iron. But I think it's going to be one of those things where, we're going to see Gajeel have to do some limit breaking stuff. Then he goes into Iron Shadow Dragon mode. But again, this is God Serena being smart, because he ends up using Flash Dragons. What's this? Augite Heavens or something it's called like that. Giant flashlight, it's going to counter a shadow. Makes sense. Knocks him right out of the shadow. Goes for, Gale Dragons Flurrying Moonflowers. Pretty much just a big giant set of, tornadoes. Does a bunch of damage to Gajeel. So that's smart. He's essentially fighting kind of like how Lucy fights. You have, your moveset and your value at that point is based on utility. It's based on having a large set of abilities. Not as much of a large set as, say, like Lucy, because Lucy's is, has lots of different niche abilities that they have, but similar in that it's obviously a widespread. 8 elements come super handy in a lot of scenarios. But he's waiting, seeing what his opponent does, seeing what attack and what ability is the best to use, and then going it. Because if you look at this fight, we don't we have 3 instances. When he uses the sword, he uses Iron Dragon Sword. When he uses the Iron Shadow Dragon mode, and then at the end. The first 2 we see, the Diamond Dragon ability and the Flash Dragon ability, are just counters. God Serena isn't just like running up and just jumping on top of Gajeel and just mauling him. That's not happening. He's playing it smart. He's waiting for Gajeel to do something and then reacting to it. It's similar to what Natsu was doing with his fight with Suzaku, obviously to a different degree, but it's still a good move because having 8 elements in most scenarios, you're gonna have something that counters your opponent, or have something that is going to be the obvious more useful ability to use in a scenario. Like it's just one of those things where he's going to have a lot to work with in general. He's going to have a lot of just tricks that he can kind of just work around and really put his opponent in a tight spot. Because I don't think that he's as tough of an opponent as, say, another like Dragon Slayer directly at his level. I think that he's going to be more of an opponent that's just going to be hard to work around, because every time you do something, he's going to be probably with a move in order to counter it, to really kind of work his way through it. And then, like I said, it's been 7 years since he got introduced, and we finally have all 8 elements. He says, so one of the things he says stone, but it's like it's gold. So I'm wondering if it's mineral in the Japanese version or something, because it's like he says earth and stone, but we know earth from his cavern dragon abilities. We saw that during the fight with the Wizard Saints. But this one, it's like he says stone, but he shows gold. So I think it's just one of those things where it's lost in translation. But I'm going to go with gold. Or, sorry, not gold. Diamond. So diamond, wind, water, fire, lightning, earth, light, and dark. So that, this is something I always thought too. I always figured it'd be super basic. Diamond is the only one that I never would have expected. I figured it'd be something way more simple, like ice. I actually thought it was ice when we got the raws, but then obviously like we got diamond as one of them. Unless it's something like he could combine them. Like, say, Diamond Dragon is combined with light and earth or something. Like, if he can do that. That's the only thing I can think of otherwise why he would have diamond. Unless he can just combine them to make, like, new hybrid types or something. Which I think would be really cool. I think they'd be badass. If Mishima wants to do that, though, because it'd be something I want to see more of. But at the same time, doing one of those things, it's like, does he want to do more with God Serena, or does he want to just have Gajeel beat him and then God Serena goes away? Or, he could be reoccurring if he felt like it. If he wants to do something like that, I would love to see God Serena be like a reoccurring character, because it'd be really cool to see what he combines them into. Like, maybe combines stone and fire makes lava, maybe combines water and earth and creates mud or plant or something. I think that'd be badass. But he's just kind of talking at this point. I feel like a lot of what God Serena is going to end up for dialogue is going to be stuff about himself. He's just saying how he's loved by the dragon gods. Gajeel obviously in response is like saying, are we talking about the moon dragon god or earth dragon god? You know that they're here. And he's like, yeah, I do. But it's funny if you go back, and I think this is just one of those things that's going to happen because he wouldn't have known at any point in time when he's talking about the dragon gods and he says that there are no dragon gods. It's like, man, a year, at least you accept it. At least you're not like, there's no dragon gods at this point. I'd be like, I would hope that you would accept that these are right there, because they can kill you too, my guy. Don't go try to fight them. Don't go trying to fight them. It won't go well for you. I think it's funny. He's like, there aren't no dragon gods, and he's like, now he's just like, yeah, I think so. I'd like to believe that, like, when August said he was blessed by the dragon gods, when he found out that dragon gods were a thing, he's probably like, yes, that is what I'm going to go with. That is what I'm known for, 100%. It's just one of those things where he's just like, that is catchy. Maybe I should go with that. But, yeah, I like God Serena somewhat. It's just like, we don't have anything to make me really like him so far. I enjoy him, I think, is kind of the thing. Like, he's kind of like how... He's kind of like how I took the Moonlight divinities, Moonlight beauty gods. I'm trying to remember the official translations for him. As like, I had more stock in Skullion. I like Skullion. I thought he was cool, and Kieran, like comparing some of the characters obviously we've seen. But I liked them. Like, I really liked them. I thought they were cool. Kieran obviously, I'm hoping it does more. Same thing with Skullion. But it's like, God's friend I like, but I'm not, like, super hyped about his character. I'm really hoping we get something additional to him. Like I said, combining the elements, or when we get to, like, whatever his alchemy is, or if we can get some lore stuff, or if Mishima just wants to keep him around a little bit and make his character more fun and likable. We'll see. But we did get a little bit with Panther Lily when Slink goes back and Slink's like, your partner hasn't returned yet. And that's the obvious concern for Gajeel. peer over to Levy, who. So I didn't think of this at first. This is actually pretty smart. So it's Levy, but the person who comes and talks to her is Biska, because she's like, Levy's saying how she's wondering if she can be a parent, talking about her body being small. Obviously, she's just nervous that she's going to be a mom soon. But it's like, it's like Biska, and it's like, oh yeah, Biska's mom. Biska's a character we got obviously early in the series, and then after the time skip, her and Alice got married and she had a kid. I didn't think about that at first. I thought that was actually really smart. I thought this was a really smart move, because it's probably not. It's probably one of those things you either wouldn't think about unless you were a parent, like to where it's like, oh yeah, this character's gonna be a parent. How do I advance them in a logical way? Like give them a little bit of character, some little bit of character content and insight, logically. Or if you just kind of, obviously you really thought deeply in the guild, like, oh yeah, one of the other parents, and especially like a newish parent, because Biska's only been a mom for what, like 7 years. She hasn't 7 or 8 years or so, because she's not like she's been, it's not like Makarov, and Makarov's got some rough parenting history. But I thought this was smart with Biska, because Biska's just saying it doesn't really matter if your body's small, it just depends on the person. You just got to be dependable, and you gotta know what you're doing. And I think Levy will do fine. She's pretty smart. Plus, she reads a lot of books. But then we get to go back to Gajeel, and Gajeel's getting his just face smashed into the wall, and he's looking beat the hell up pretty much at this point. And God Serena's just like, oh, you're saying a woman's name. That's a shame. You're never going to see her again. So, here's the thing, okay? But like I said, so this is like the third, if you look at it like 3 parts of the fight, at least, not like parts, but 3 instances. The first 2, Gajeel just got straight countered and immediately attacked as soon as he was open. This one, we didn't see what happened. Gajeel's just getting pressed. But here's the thing about Gajeel. And this is a real thing. And this is one thing I want to talk about before I get into like my hopes for the fight. Gajeel, one of the things that it hurts Gajeel is he has no real hacks or trump card. Gajeel doesn't really have anything in his moveset that if he got in a fight like this where he's just getting really pressed, he has something to pull out of his sleeve as like something really scary. Like, Gray's got stuff like Iced Shell and Lost Ice Shell. He's got broken stuff that he can bring out. Natsu's got his Savage Dragon Fire. Urza now can enchant into her swords. Wendy's got all her crazy different enchantments. Gray has... Oh, wait, no, I already said Gray. Lucy in general just has all these crazy trick abilities, and she's got high-level just offensive spells like Erotometry and Godfried. Gajeel doesn't really have anything like that. Because when really you think about it, Gajeel hasn't had anything added to his moveset since he got Iron Shadow Dragon mode. His Steel Dragon didn't stay. His Dragon Force didn't stay. And that's one of the reasons I think Gajeel has really needed something new. He hasn't gotten anything that stuck with him. Laxus got Red Lightning Dragon mode. Like, it's not even... I mean, he got Red Lightning, and then he got Red Lightning Dragon mode. Gajeel just hasn't gotten anything that really advances him as a fighter in the verse, him and his moveset, him as a wizard. And I think that's something that really needs to get addressed soon. And obviously this is the fight for it, and we're probably going to be getting to that, but it's something that I would love to get to the point of. I want to see what Gajeel is going to bring to the table, and what Gajeel is going to have to defeat this guy. So when it comes to this fight, I think, one, Gajeel just needs a general boost. If Gajeel just does Dragon Force, I think he'll be fine. I don't think that God Serena... Because God Serena doesn't have any hacks. His hacks is in the variety. Like, if you looked at his moveset, his danger and his hacks is obviously all these elements, counterplay, and being a slayer with 8 elements at his potential consumption to regain magic and stamina. But he doesn't have, at least from what we've seen, any, like, scary broken abilities that if you get hit by it, you're done. Or, anything too scary that, like, yeah, this is going to be a problem even if this hits me once. So, if, say, Gajeel gets Dragon Force, he can probably just power through, just, like, go right through any attack God Serena has and just beat the hell out of him. But I'm hoping more of an equivalent to Fire Dragon King mode. I would like just some really cool advancement in his metal. But, I don't know. Like, if he, here's the thing, if he does say he eats the diamond. Let's just put something out there. He eats the diamond. He advances and gets a new form. I will say, if he does it that way, I wanted him to have what Natsu has with the Dragon Fire, where he won't have Like, there won't be a permanent sticking the same way as a hybrid mode, where it's like, oh yeah, Lightning Flame Dragon mode, Iron Shadow Dragon mode. It's like, oh yeah, Natsu ate Atlas Flame, Ignia, and Igneal's Fire, so they permanently blended in with his Dragon Force flames. I would like Gajeel to get something equal to that. I want it to be like, anytime he goes Dragon Force, the previous minerals and metals that he's eaten combines into what he has. Like, I want that to be a Dragon Slayer thing. I don't want that just to be a Natsu thing. I really want it to be like, anytime they have eaten another dragon attribute, it permanently melds in with their Dragon Force. Because I think it makes sense at that point. Because at Dragon Force, that is you as the dragon. That is you using that element. Because when you think about, listen to Natsu's abilities, Natsu's base Fire Dragon flames are it's just Fire Dragon. And, well, it's Dragon Fire, rather. Lightning Flame Dragon mode combines it with, with lightning. He's got double effect. Fire Dragon King mode, when he always says he's using Igneal's flames, there's Igneal's fire. But when he's in Dragon Force, it's his fire. And, he said that himself. This is my fire. It's not Igneal's fire. It's not Ignea's fire. It's not Atlas Flame's fire. It's Natsu's fire. And we did have Alderaan just say it was a mixture of all those flames he's eaten, specifically only dragon fires. So if we get that with Gajeel, I think that would be great. I would love to see some just kind of general advancement from him with that. But other than that, I think one that would make a lot of sense is if you go off of this last line. What God Serena's like, is that a woman's name? What a shame you'll never see her again. Play off Levy. Play off Levy and his family. If the next chapter we could get like Gajeel getting back on his feet, still fighting, but he's just getting the shit kicked out of him. But he's making a little bit of progress. We could see a little bit of more attacks from God Serena, because I'm hoping for a chapter and a half to 2 chapters is what I'm hoping for this fight, left rather. But if he's getting pressed, but he's thinking, he's trying to figure out what to do, and it stops being of, oh, I got to think of how I'm going to beat this guy. It's, what am I going to lose if I don't beat this guy? And I think if Gajeel has like a moment where he starts thinking about like his friends, it goes to the guild, but it's like, I don't think that like it should be those things. It should be similar to like when Lucy was thinking about, the guild and stuff during her fight with Kyria. That is a segue to get him to where he needs to be. He starts thinking about his allies, then the guild. He thinks about being in the guild. He thinks about when he joined the guild. Then he thinks back at Levy, and then it's just thinks about like, not being able to be there with Levy, similar to like with Bloodman, especially now that they have confirmed children. And it's just a primal switch goes off on Gajeel. And it's not like I have to defeat this guy as a fairy tale wizard, I have to defend my honor, anything like that. It's, I'm gonna get home to my wife and my children no matter fucking what, and nobody can stop me. And he just has this, again, it's a primal urge to survive and get back to his family that just takes over, and Gajeel just becomes almost feral. I don't think he's gonna like just lose his mind like Nibiru, but I wanted this to be like Gajeel just, it's just one of those times, when a character gets so mad and it's just like their eyes don't change and it's just a dead, cold, angry stare. And like you would look at Gajeel and the only thing he's thinking about is beat the shit out of this guy, finish the mission, make it home. I would love that. That's my fingers crossed big thing. Because I think with the guild, we already know obviously Gajeel's ties to the guild, how much he cares about the guild. If Gajeel had a similar thing to like it, if he did a similar thing to his fight back in Sirius Island, it'd be cool, but I don't think it would be as much of a progression for Gajeel's character as if we did it with, obviously thinking towards his children and his pregnant lover. They're not married yet, I don't think, so it's like you can't really say wife. Eventual wife with Levy. So it's just like, it's one of those things where it's like, it seems like it's a very easy route to do, but it makes sense, and I think it's one of the best ones you can do. I think it would make a lot of sense, and it would really do a lot for Gajeel's character. Because that's one of those things that just makes a lot of sense. Like, you can't really get mad at a character getting some form of just adrenaline, primal, at their core boost. Just the idea of like, oh yeah, if I don't survive this, I'm never going to meet my children, and I'm not going to get to see them, and I'm going to leave, the woman I love alone. And I just want like Gajeel to think about that. And it's just this, like, it's one of those times where it's, you think about a character getting some crazy broken power-up, and it's just like, God Serena's be watching, and then all of a sudden, like, Gajeel's magic would just start surging, and he's just like, what did I do? What did I do? What did I cause in this man? Because again, I think it would make complete sense. It's not just like, oh yeah, I don't want to lose. It's like he has something deeply on the line that is, it's not, oh yeah, I want to go home because, I love this woman. It's like we are starting a family. It is literally in the progress. And I think that his natural dad instincts will just kick in. So we'll see. I'm very excited for where this can go because I see a lot of potential and a lot of possibilities for this fight. With the other fights, like the other one, obviously a lot of hype for was Lucy versus Kyria. But I think that one was more of like a really good fight that I think had a lot for Lucy in terms of a combat accomplishment, where I think this could do more. I think this could be a combat accomplishment and a huge, like much bigger character step for Gajeel than like what Lucy got with Kyria. Because like what Lucy got was still really good, but I think this could do a lot for Gajeel and to really just kind of like think about that. Think of it's like it would draw out an older version of Gajeel, like very early vibes Gajeel, but through means of Gajeel where his character has got to now, and I think that'd be really great. I think it'd be really cool just to get that kind of old, vicious street animal Gajeel, who's he's not as much, oh yeah, I'm gonna fight you. It's like he's ready to just go down fang and claw and just go at you. Like he just wants to fight you, and he's just ready to go dirty and to really just go until you're beating the shit. Because like it's the way that the old Dragon Slayer vibe. Because like it's 5th gen, obviously, like they're not as traditional Dragon Slayers. Why would they? A lot of them fight in kind of like a hybridish mode with that and another magic. Whereas like you look back at like straight Dragon Slayers, like they're just like in hands at all times. They're ready to throw down. So yeah, I had a lot to say about this chapter. We're like almost an hour in. I'm very intrigued for where this is gonna go. I've been waiting for a Gajeel fight. The God Serena stuff so far has been positive. I'm only waiting for a couple questions to be answered for that, but I feel like they're easy to answer. It's just when Mishima's going to get to them. And I can't wait to see what Gajeel's going to do. Like I said, I'm very much hyped to see what he develops. Like, what is he going to gain? Is it going to be Dragon Force? Is it going to be like, again, equivalent to Fire Dragon King mode? It could be something completely new. Is he going to get Steel Dragon again? Who knows? It's a very interesting setup. I can't wait to see where this goes for him and what we're going to get out of Gold Owl after this as well. Because Gold Owl is a very intriguing plotline that I will very much like to see. Also, we're only at, 21 of the Dogre cores left? So I'm guessing when we get to 0 that Dogremag is going to go to his dragon form. I think he's going to be pissed off and he's going to be like, fine, I can't fight in human form. I'm going to go dragon form. Though I am hoping... Hiccup right there. I am hoping before that we get like 1 or 2 more techniques. I'd love to get a couple more name techniques from him, but I guess he can use them in his dragon form still, so whatever. Anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, tell me your thoughts are about this chapter, and tell me your thoughts are about what's going on. Do you agree or disagree with me with like the stuff with God Serena and Gajeel? I think people getting mad about God Serena are just jumping the gun. It's not a character coming back. It's the explanation. We just need to get a better explanation because like we only got like a vague little run by God Serena. I think we need to get to whoever healed him and to have a flashback or see the capabilities of said character, or just have them explain like, oh, I was in the area for X, Y, or Z reasons, and this is why this happened. Something that can really kind of just answer that bit. I don't think it's as big as people say because like here's the thing, Mishima could just straight retcon it. I don't think it really matters. God Serena is not an important character, and I'm just gonna put that out there for people there at the end. Just remember it. Like if you get mad about it, just ask yourself: is this character important? Does this character coming back to life diminish any plot progress or development of any kind? No, God Serena doesn't do anything like that. He's a character that people have always said they wanted to see what he could do, and it was like he was bummed for not showing like what his capabilities are. Now we got him back. Like I said, that we haven't had the full explanation of his, of his saving. I'm hoping we get to that. I'm just happy that we're actually getting a display of him at this point. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video for the like button, subscribe, and check out my other videos. But that, I appreciate you. Subscribe, and thank you all for listening. Bye.